Ezekiel sees a massive cloud flashing with fire. Brightness surrounds it. Something like glowing metal appears inside the flames. Then 4 living creatures emerge. Each has a human form. Each has 4 wings. And each has 4 faces: a human, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. The creatures move without turning. Wheels covered with eyes move beside them. Above them is something like a crystal platform. Above that is a throne. And on the throne is a figure surrounded by radiance. Then Ezekiel falls on his face. What exactly is he seeing? And why would a vision of God's glory include 4 creatures with the faces of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle? For centuries, readers have tried to decode those 4 faces. Some have connected them to the 4 Gospels. Others have treated them as symbols of 4 kingdoms, 4 directions, 4 qualities of creation, or 4 dimensions of Christ. Some of those interpretations are ancient and influential. But before asking what the faces might symbolize, we need to ask a more basic question. What does Ezekiel himself tell us? Because the hidden meaning of the 4 faces is not found by inventing a secret code. It is found by placing the vision back inside the world of Ezekiel. And that world begins in exile. Ezekiel is not standing in Jerusalem when he receives this vision. He is among the Judean exiles by the Chebar Canal in Babylon. Jerusalem still exists, but many of its people have already been deported. The temple still stands hundreds of miles away. And for Israelites who believed that Jerusalem was the center of God's presence, exile creates a terrifying question. Has God abandoned us? Is the God of Israel somehow trapped in Jerusalem? Has Babylon defeated not only Judah, but Judah's God? Then Ezekiel looks north, and the heavens open. What he sees immediately begins answering those questions. God's glory is not trapped inside the temple. It can appear in Babylon. It can move. It has wheels. It is carried by living creatures that travel wherever the Spirit directs them. The first message of the vision is therefore not about identifying 4 mysterious animals. It is about the mobility and sovereignty of God. The Lord is present even in exile, and the strange creatures beneath his throne help communicate that reality. Ezekiel first calls them living creatures. Later, in Ezekiel 10, he identifies them more specifically. They are cherubim. That matters, because biblical cherubim are very different from the small winged babies that later art often calls cherubs. In Scripture, cherubim are powerful heavenly beings associated with sacred space and the throne of God. After Adam and Eve are expelled from Eden, cherubim guard the way to the tree of life. In the tabernacle, images of cherubim appear over the Ark of the Covenant. In the temple, large cherubim overshadow the ark. The Psalms can even describe the Lord as enthroned above or between the cherubim. So when Ezekiel sees living creatures beneath the divine throne, an Israelite reader already has a category for them. These are throne guardians, bearers of divine glory, heavenly beings connected with the presence of God. But Ezekiel's cherubim are unlike anything we might have expected. Each one has 4 faces. The face in front is human. On one side is the face of a lion. On another is the face of an ox. And behind is the face of an eagle. Why these 4? The text never gives us a sentence that says, the human face means this, the lion means this, the ox means this, and the eagle means this. That is important. Any interpretation that claims absolute certainty about the symbolic meaning of each face goes beyond what Ezekiel explicitly explains. But the animals themselves are not random. They are among the most powerful and representative creatures in the ancient world. Start with the human face. Human beings occupy a unique place in the biblical creation story. Genesis says humanity is made in the image of God and given dominion over the animals. Humans represent intelligence, moral responsibility, speech, relationship, and rule. so the human face naturally evokes the world of mankind. Then comes the lion. The lion is one of the most powerful land predators known to the biblical world. Scripture repeatedly uses the lion as an image of strength, danger, royal power, and courage. Judah is compared to a lion in Genesis 49. Kingship and lion imagery become closely connected. A lion therefore represents a kind of untamed majesty among wild animals. Then comes the ox. Unlike the lion, the ox belongs to the world of domesticated animals. It is associated with labor, strength, agriculture, sacrifice, and human civilization. An ox can pull, plow, carry, and provide. In the ancient agrarian world, it was one of the most important, powerful animals living under human care. And finally comes the eagle. The eagle dominates the sky. Biblical poetry uses eagle imagery for speed, height, strength, protection, and the ability to soar above the earth. So look at the four together: human, wild beast, domesticated beast, bird of the heavens. One very plausible way to understand the group is that these faces represent the major realms of animate creation: humanity, wild animals, domestic animals, and flying creatures. If that is the idea, then the four-faced cherubim become a kind of living representation of creation beneath the throne of the Creator. The strongest beings from every sphere are not rivals to God. They serve beneath Him. The human does not sit on the throne. The lion does not sit on the throne. The ox does not sit on the throne. The eagle does not sit on the throne. They carry the platform beneath the one who does. That is a powerful theological picture. Everything alive belongs under the rule of God. And that interpretation becomes even more interesting when we notice something else. The creatures can move in every direction without turning. Each one has four faces facing different directions. Wherever the Spirit goes, they go. Nothing blocks their movement. Nothing forces the throne of God to stop and turn around like an earthly chariot. This is not a king, limited by roads, geography, or military borders. God's throne moves wherever He wills. For exiles living under Babylonian power, that message would have been enormous. Babylon may control the land. Babylon may control the roads. Babylon may have taken the people away from Jerusalem. But Babylon does not control the movement of God. The four faces therefore belong to a larger vision of divine mobility. Then come the wheels. Ezekiel describes a wheel beside each creature. The construction is so strange that he says it looks like a wheel intersecting another wheel. The wheels can move in multiple directions. Their rims are full of eyes, and the spirit of the living creatures is in the wheels. Again, the point seems to be movement without limitation. And the eyes intensify the image. God's throne is not only mobile. Nothing escapes its awareness. The Lord can move anywhere. The Lord can see everything. This is not a local deity who lost his influence when his people crossed a border. The God of Israel is sovereign even in Babylon. That is why the location of this vision matters so much. Ezekiel sees the glory of God outside the land of Israel before he later watches that glory depart from the temple. In Ezekiel 10 and 11, the same cherubim appear again. The glory of the Lord rises from the temple. The cherubim move. The wheels move with them. The divine glory departs from Jerusalem because of the city's rebellion and idolatry. That scene is devastating. But it also confirms what Ezekiel 1 has already shown. God is not trapped in the building. The temple is sacred because God chooses to dwell there. God is not sacred because the temple contains Him. The throne can move. The glory can depart. And later in Ezekiel, God can promise restoration. This makes the four faces part of a much larger theological message. They are not there primarily, so later readers can solve a puzzle. They belong to the throne vision that tells exiles who God still is: sovereign, mobile, all-seeing, unconquered, and surrounded by the most powerful representatives of creation. But what about the famous interpretation connecting the four faces to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? This tradition became extremely influential in Christian art. Different early Christian writers assigned the creatures differently. Eventually, one common pattern became familiar. Matthew represented by the man or angel, Mark by the lion, Luke by the ox, John by the eagle. You can still see these four symbols in church art, manuscripts, stained glass, and paintings. There are reasons Christians found the connections meaningful. Matthew begins with Jesus' human genealogy. Mark opens with a voice crying in the wilderness, which some compared to a lion. Luke emphasizes temple, priesthood, and sacrifice, which made the ox a fitting symbol. John opens with the word before creation, and reaches some of the highest Christological language in the New Testament, which made the soaring eagle an attractive image. It is a beautiful tradition. But we should be careful. Ezekiel does not say he is predicting 4 future gospel books, and the assignments were not always the same among early interpreters. So the gospel symbolism can be appreciated as Christian theological art without pretending it is the original explanation given by Ezekiel. The same caution applies to another popular interpretation. Some teachers say the 4 faces represent 4 qualities of Jesus: humanity in the man, royalty in the lion, service or sacrifice in the ox, and divinity in the eagle. Again, these connections can create a meaningful Christian meditation. But Ezekiel never explains the faces that way. If we want to understand the vision first, we should begin where Ezekiel begins, with the glory and throne of God. Then there is Revelation. This is where the connection becomes much more direct. In Revelation 4, John sees a throne in heaven. Around the throne are 4 living creatures. One is like a lion, one is like an ox or calf, one has a face like a man, and one is like a flying eagle. They are covered with eyes, they have wings, and they continually worship the one seated on the throne. The imagery clearly echoes Ezekiel, although Revelation reshapes it. In Ezekiel, each creature has 4 faces. In Revelation, the 4 creatures are distinguished from one another. But the same 4 basic forms appear: lion, ox, man, eagle. And again, they are positioned around the divine throne. What are they doing? Worshipping. They declare God's holiness. They give glory, honor, and thanks to the one who lives forever. Then the elders respond by worshiping the Creator. And what reason do they give? God created all things. That strengthens the creation interpretation. The living creatures stand around the throne of the Creator as representatives of the living world. The highest forms of created strength do not compete for worship, they give worship. The lion bows, the ox bows, the eagle bows, humanity bows. Creation belongs to its Creator. Then Revelation 5 adds another surprise. John sees the Lamb. The 4 living creatures are still there. But now they participate in worship surrounding the Lamb as well. This gives the imagery a powerful New Testament development. The same heavenly throne world that Ezekiel saw becomes part of Revelation's vision of God and the Lamb. But once again, the purpose is not to make the creatures the center. They point beyond themselves. That may be the biggest mistake people make when reading Ezekiel's vision. We stare at the 4 faces so long that we stop looking upward. Ezekiel does not end his description with the creatures. He looks above them. Above the wings is an expanse. Above the expanse is a throne. And above the throne is a human-like figure surrounded by brilliant radiance. Ezekiel compares the appearance to glowing metal, fire, and the brightness of a rainbow in the clouds. Then he tells us what the entire scene is. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. The creatures are astonishing. The wheels are astonishing. The eyes are astonishing. But none of them is the destination of the vision. The glory of the Lord is. And Ezekiel's response proves it. He does not begin worshiping the lion face. He does not bow to the eagle. He does not try to communicate with the wheels. He falls on his face before the glory of God. That gives us the safest way to interpret every strange detail in the chapter. The details serve the throne serves the revelation of God's glory, and the revelation prepares Ezekiel for his prophetic mission. God is about to send him to a rebellious people. That mission will be difficult. They may refuse to listen. Jerusalem will face judgment. The temple itself will not protect people who persist in rebellion. But before Ezekiel receives that message, he sees who is sending him. That order matters. Before judgment, glory. Before mission, throne. Before Ezekiel faces rebellious Israel, he sees the one whose authority extends beyond Israel, beyond Babylon, and beyond every created power. The four faces are part of that message. They show a throne surrounded by life from every realm. A throne that moves in every direction, a throne that sees, a throne that cannot be imprisoned by geography, and a throne carried by beings whose strength would terrify an ordinary human observer. Yet even they are servants. So what is the hidden meaning of the four faces? The Bible does not give us a secret dictionary saying, man equals one doctrine, lion equals another, ox equals another, eagle equals another. The meaning is bigger than that. The human face points toward the realm of humanity. The lion embodies the strength of wild creation. The ox represents powerful domesticated life. The eagle represents the creatures of the sky. Together, they form a vision in which the living creation stands beneath the throne of the Creator. And because each creature faces multiple directions, the throne moves without limitation. God is not trapped in Jerusalem. He is not defeated by Babylon. He is not confined to a temple. He is not one territorial God among many. He sees, he moves, he reigns. And that may explain why Ezekiel receives such a strange vision at such a painful moment. If you were an exile, you might think everything familiar had collapsed. Your city is far away. Your temple is far away. Your king has been humiliated. Your nation has been shattered. Then the heavens open, and you discover that the throne of God has wheels. His glory has come to Babylon. The lion serves him. The ox serves him. The eagle serves him. Humanity stands beneath him. The living creatures move at his command. And above them all is the throne. That is the point Ezekiel cannot forget. The world may feel out of control from the ground, but Ezekiel has seen it from beneath the throne. And from there, everything looks different.